Ethan Varro had never expected to stand on the surface of Lithera, a planet known for its dense jungles, towering crystal mountains, and skies painted with colors no human eye had ever seen before. The moment he stepped out of the sleek exploration shuttle, a rush of humid air hit him, carrying scents that were both sweet and strange. He could hear distant calls of creatures that seemed half bird, half insect. Every step he took sank slightly into the soft ground, leaving prints that would soon vanish into the vibrant green moss covering the landscape. Lithera was not a welcoming planet for outsiders. The humans had only recently received permission from the Interstellar Council to visit it, and only because of a rare discovery of ancient ruins that suggested the Aurelians, the dominant species here, might have advanced technology beyond the Council's knowledge. The Aurelians themselves were cautious, proud, and fiercely territorial. Rumors of their strict laws and intense loyalty to their royal family had reached even human ears before Ethan's arrival. He had been briefed thoroughly, but nothing could truly prepare him for what he was about to face. The shuttle's engines faded into silence, leaving Ethan alone on the cliffside overlooking the sprawling Aurelia capital. The city was unlike anything he had ever seen. Towers of shimmering crystal rose from the ground like frozen lightning, reflecting the twin suns that lit the skies. Bridges connected the towers at dizzying heights, and strange flying vehicles darted between them. Despite the beauty, Ethan sensed tension in the air. Guards in silver armor patrolled methodically, their eyes sharp and unyielding. The city was vibrant but cautious, as if it was holding its breath. Ethan's mission had been simple: exploration and scientific observation. He had been sent to study Lithera's unique flora and fauna, map resources, and establish a basic communication link with the Aurelians. But now, standing at the edge of the cliff, he realized his mission had changed entirely. A royal messenger had arrived at the shuttle earlier, insisting, almost demanding, his immediate presence at the palace. The message had been short, almost frighteningly urgent. "The princess is dying. Your touch may save her." Yet here he was, being summoned as a possible savior for a life-threatening crisis. He had no idea why the Aurelians thought he could help. His fingers itched nervously, though not with fear of failure. It was curiosity, tempered with caution. He had seen things in the galaxy that no human schoolbook had taught him: strange energies, unexplainable phenomena, and biological anomalies. Could it be possible that something in humans was capable of what no Aurelians could achieve? The path to the royal palace was lined with enormous bioluminescent trees, their trunks wide enough to house entire families of creatures that fluttered through the branches. Ethan's boots crunched on the metallic stones that formed the main walkway, a path designed not for speed but for spectacle. Guards flanked the path, eyes scanning him with a mixture of suspicion and astonishment. To them, he was not just a human. He was an unpredictable factor in a world that had long relied on order and precision. Finally, he arrived at the palace gates. They were massive, crafted from a metal that seemed alive, pulsing with soft golden light. Two guards stepped aside without a word, allowing Ethan to pass. Inside, the palace was even more magnificent. Vaulted ceilings stretched high above, decorated with intricate patterns that glowed faintly. Holographic projections of the planet's history floated along the walls, telling stories of ancient wars, heroic kings, and the rise of the Aurelians' royal dynasty. But even as Ethan marveled at the beauty, the atmosphere was heavy with unease. Aurelians moved quickly and silently through the corridors, their expressions grim. Ethan could hear the faint hum of medical devices before he entered the main chamber. And then he saw her, Princess Seraphina. She lay on a golden bed, her body pale, chest rising and falling with a faint pulse. Her usual regal aura seemed diminished, almost fragile, as if the light of her presence had dimmed. Around her, members of the royal family and several healers stood in tense silence. Their eyes, large and iridescent, focused on him with a mixture of hope and disbelief. "She is dying," said a voice from behind him. Ethan turned to see an elder Aurelian healer approaching. Her eyes were wide and filled with unspoken fear. "The toxin is beyond our cure. No medicine, no device, no ritual can stop it. Yet it is said humans may carry an energy that can heal what we cannot." Humans had healed their own kind in remarkable ways, yes, but across species. That seemed impossible, yet the intensity in her eyes told him they believed it, and in desperation they had called on him. "What must I do?" he asked quietly. "Touch her," the healer replied. "Gently, focus on life, on warmth, on hope. Do not think of harming her. Only give what you carry naturally." The entire room seemed to hold its collective breath as he extended a hand, hovering just above her skin. He remembered every precaution from the briefings, every story of humans interacting with alien biology. Nothing in science had prepared him for this moment. And yet, as he placed a hand gently on her wrist, he felt a warmth spread from his palm into her body. A strange vibration, almost like a heartbeat connecting them, resonated through him. For a long moment, nothing happened. The silence in the room was heavy, broken only by the soft hum of Aurelian's medical devices. And then, slowly, almost imperceptibly, her color began to return. Pink crept into her cheeks, and the faint glow in her eyes sparked again. Gasps filled the room, first quiet, then growing louder. The royal family leaned forward, disbelief evident in every gesture. The healer stepped closer, murmuring words Ethan did not understand. Yet even she, trained in ways he could not comprehend, watched in awe. The toxin that had seemed unstoppable was retreating. Seraphina's breathing grew steadier. Her small fingers twitched as if regaining life on their own. "By the stars," whispered one of the royal guards. Ethan's hand remained on her wrist. He felt exhaustion, a subtle drain from the energy that was flowing through him, yet he could not stop. He could feel the faint pulse of her life strengthening under his touch. Every second, every heartbeat made the room feel lighter, brighter. The princess's chest rose fully now, no longer struggling. Her eyes slowly opened, revealing a vibrant, lucid gaze. For a moment they stared at each other, human and Aurelian, separated by biology yet connected in something deeper. Seraphina's lips parted in a weak smile, the first sign of recognition. "You saved me," she whispered. Ethan shook his head, still cautious. "I don't know how," he admitted. "You have a gift," the healer said, voice trembling. "The energy you carry, it is life itself. We never knew it existed, not in humans. You have done what no Aurelian could. Humans are fragile, untested. Yet you healed her. You are part miracle, part something we cannot understand." Perhaps it was courage, perhaps unpredictability, or something innate in their biology. Whatever it was, it had changed the course of a life, and maybe more than that. Hours passed as Seraphina rested, growing stronger with each passing moment. Ethan remained close, wary of overexertion, but fascinated by the rapid improvement. The healer explained that the toxin was complex, designed to disrupt not just body but energy flow. Yet humans, natural warmth, empathy, and subtle life energy had countered it. The royal family began discussing plans for defense, for diplomacy, for ways humans might be allies rather than curiosities. Ethan realized that Lithra was not just a scientific mission anymore. He had entered a world on the brink of war, and somehow he had already become part of its story. Saving the princess had not just proven human resilience, it had begun a chain of events that could change how Aurelians, and perhaps the entire galaxy, saw humanity. As night fell over the crystalline city, Ethan looked out from the palace balcony. Twin suns dipped behind the mountains, casting long shadows across the streets. He knew this was only the beginning. The Draxians, the rival faction that had poisoned the princess, would not accept defeat quietly. Lithra's skies would soon be stormed with warships, and the fragile peace he now glimpsed would be tested. But for the first time, humanity had proven it could matter. One touch had saved a life. One life might save a world. And Ethan, standing on the balcony with the stars above him, felt a quiet determination settle in his chest. Whatever challenges came next, he would meet them. Humans might be underestimated, but they were never defeated. And somewhere deep in his mind, Ethan smiled, knowing that the adventure had only just begun. The next morning, the palace of Lithra hummed with cautious activity. Ethan woke to the soft light filtering through the crystalline walls of his temporary quarters, feeling the weight of the previous day's events pressing on him. The memory of Princess Seraphina's frail body and the warmth that had flowed from his hand stayed with him. It was still hard to believe that something so instinctive, a simple human touch, could reverse a poison that had baffled even the most advanced Aurelians. He stepped out onto the balcony to clear his mind. Below, the city stretched in endless tiers of glass and metal, alive with activity. Drones and vehicles moved along bridges and streets, citizens hurrying to their duties. But there was tension in the air, subtle but unmistakable. Even with the princess recovering, whispers of a larger danger had begun circulating through the palace. The Draxians, a rival faction from beyond Lithra, had attacked without warning, poisoning Seraphina as part of a broader plan to destabilize the royal family. Ethan was still learning the nuances of Aurelian culture. They valued strategy, honor, and loyalty above all else. Every movement in the palace seemed deliberate, measured, almost ritualistic. Humans, on the other hand, were unpredictable, often solving problems in ways the Aurelians could not anticipate. This unpredictability, Ethan realized, could be an advantage, especially now. He was interrupted by a soft chime at his door. A servant, small and delicate with iridescent wings, bowed low before speaking. "Princess Serafina requests your presence," she said. Ethan nodded and followed quietly, noting how the palace staff gave him wide berth, unsure if he was friend or threat. The princess lay in a smaller chamber, sun streaming through the walls, illuminating her recovering form. She smiled faintly as Ethan entered. "I feel stronger today," she said, her voice steady but still soft. "Thanks to you. I want to show you something." He recognized the form of Draxian warships, silent but deadly, hovering over the trees as if scouting the city. Ethan swallowed. "They're here," he said quietly. Serafina's expression hardened. "I feared they would come again. Our scouts report small incursions, but nothing like this. The Draxians will not stop until we are weak, until I am dead or captured." She turned to him, eyes wide and earnest. "I need your help. You saved me once. I believe you can help protect my people as well." He looked over the horizon again. The Draxians' ships glinted in the sun, and he could almost feel their intent, cold, precise, and merciless. "I'll do what I can," he said, "but we need a plan." Maps of the city and surrounding forests were spread across a large table. Holographic projections of Draxian formations flickered above. He listened carefully, noting the patterns and assumptions the Aurelians made. Their strategies were impressive, precise, and steeped in tradition, but they relied heavily on predictability. Humans, he knew, thrived in improvisation. Ethan began speaking cautiously. "If they are counting on fear and predictability, we can use that against them. Small, unexpected strikes, diversions, traps. They won't expect humans to think in this way. We have survived centuries using precision and strength, not improvisation. If my life means anything, I will trust him." He explained every detail to the commanders, showing simulations of outcomes. Slowly, their skepticism gave way to cautious hope. That evening, as the twin suns set and painted the skies with deep violet and gold, the palace erupted with sudden alarms. Draxian scouts had breached the outer perimeter. Ethan rushed to the viewing platform with Serafina and several guards. In the forests below, he could see small units of Draxian soldiers moving silently among the trees. Their movements were careful, calculated, designed to test the defenses. "Time to see if your plans work," Serafina said quietly, her eyes sharp. Ethan nodded, taking a deep breath. He activated the first stage of his strategy. Hidden snares and automated defensive mechanisms triggered, catching the Draxians off guard. Some units were delayed, others forced into confined spaces where Aurelians lay in wait. Human intuition had created a web of traps that the enemy had not anticipated. From the palace balcony, Ethan watched with satisfaction as his plan unfolded. The Aurelians, though initially hesitant, now moved with confidence, inspired by his foresight. Serafina observed everything, learning quickly, asking questions, and suggesting minor adjustments. The collaboration was unexpected but effective. Hours passed in tense silence, broken by occasional bursts of combat. The Draxians were skilled, but the combined strategy of human unpredictability and Aurelian precision proved effective. By nightfall, the intruders were driven back into the forest, wounded and confused. The city was safe, for now. Ethan's body ached from the tension and the exertion, but the adrenaline kept him alert. Serafina approached him as the council gathered to debrief. "You have saved many today," she said softly. "Not just me, but everyone here. I do not know how humans possess such courage, such creativity." The royal family, once skeptical of outsiders, now looked at him with a mix of respect and awe. As the night deepened, Ethan walked through the palace corridors, thinking about the days ahead. The Draxians would return, stronger and more prepared. The challenge was far from over, but for the first time he felt a sense of purpose beyond exploration. Humanity had been underestimated, dismissed as insignificant by countless species. Yet here, in a distant palace under alien suns, one human had made a difference, and that difference would be only the beginning. The next morning, Ethan met with Serafina again. She had recovered even further, her energy returning in ways that seemed almost miraculous. The royal family was no longer fearful. They were alert, ready, and increasingly reliant on human insight. Serafina spoke of alliances, of diplomacy, and of preparing the city for any attack the Draxians might attempt next. Ethan realized that his presence had changed more than strategy. He had introduced the idea that humans could be allies, leaders, and sources of hope. The Aurelians, with all their experience and tradition, were learning that strength alone was not enough. Ingenuity, courage, and adaptability were equally powerful. Plans were drawn, teams trained, and simulations repeated. Ethan stayed close to Serafina, guiding her in ways that combined human logic with Aurelian technology. Together, they became a team, blending instinct and precision, empathy and strategy. As the twin suns rose again, Ethan gazed over the city. Draxian ships were nowhere in sight, but he knew this calm was temporary. Soon, the real test would come, the test that would determine not just the princess's survival, but the fate of Lithera itself. And Ethan, human and unexpected hero, was ready to meet it head-on. The calm over Lithera was a fragile illusion. Ethan woke to the low hum of the palace's alert system. From the observation deck, he could see Draxian warships forming in the distance, black and jagged against the shimmering skies. Their movements were deliberate, their purpose clear. This time they would not retreat. Serafina stood beside him, fully recovered and strong, her iridescent eyes reflecting determination. "They are coming," she said simply. There was no fear in her voice, only resolve. "We must be ready." He moved quickly through the palace corridors, coordinating with Aurelians, giving final instructions to the squads he had trained. Their trust in him had grown, not just because of the healing, but because they saw his mind as a weapon, unconventional, unpredictable, yet effective. Outside, the city seemed serene, the crystal towers gleaming in the twin suns. But beneath that beauty lay the tense hum of readiness. Guards checked weapons, engineers tested defenses, and scouts relayed reports from the forests and outskirts. Every Aurelian moved with precision, yet there was an energy in the air, a quiet hope fueled by human ingenuity. The first wave of Draxian forces struck just before dusk. Smaller units descended from the forests, attempting to infiltrate the city's outskirts. Ethan had prepared for this, and his tactics unfolded exactly as he had hoped. Automated traps concealed in the terrain triggered, ensnaring several enemy squads. Decoy units drew others into ambushes where Aurelians, trained under his guidance, waited. The battle was swift and chaotic. Draxian soldiers were skilled, their armor advanced, their weapons lethal. But they had not expected the combination of human unpredictability and Aurelian discipline. Ethan moved among the defenders, giving orders and adjustments on the fly. His mind raced with calculations and contingency plans. Every decision had to be precise. Every mistake could cost lives. Serafina watched from a vantage point, coordinating communications and supplies. She had learned quickly, adapting human strategies to her people's technology. Where humans relied on intuition, Aurelians relied on precision, and together they were proving to be a formidable combination. She felt a surge of pride in the human who had saved her life, realizing that his courage was only part of his strength. His mind was a weapon, a guide, a spark of something the Draxians could not anticipate. Hours passed. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the city. The Draxians had pushed hard, but the defenses held. Small groups of invaders were isolated and defeated, their formations broken by the clever use of terrain, traps, and misdirection. Ethan's presence on the battlefield was subtle yet vital. He did not fight with brute force, he fought with ideas, with strategies that leveraged unpredictability and adaptability. Then came the second wave, the main force. Larger, heavily armed, and relentless. Warships hovered above, preparing to unleash energy beams on the city if ground troops failed. The stakes had risen. Ethan felt a tension coil in his chest. Every simulation had shown that this phase would be critical. Lives, the city, the princess, everything depended on their next moves. He quickly called together the commanders and squads. "Listen," he said, voice firm. "They expect us to fight like we did before, reactive, defensive. We will do something different. We will split our forces. Half will draw them into the city streets where we can control their movements. The rest will flank them from above and behind. Timing is everything. Trust your instincts and watch for signals." They had learned that human strategies were unusual but effective. Ethan's calm, clear instructions inspired them. He could see their confidence grow, a rare thing in a species that prided itself on precision over improvisation. The battle began anew. Ethan moved through the city, coordinating squads, observing enemy patterns, and giving rapid instructions. Draxians were relentless, but human unpredictability combined with Aurelian technology caused confusion in their ranks. Flanking squads struck with precision, cutting off retreat paths. Traps and decoys disrupted their formations. The city, once vulnerable, became a maze of controlled chaos for the invaders. Serafina took an active role, using her knowledge of the city and the human strategies to guide reinforcements and coordinate defensive measures. Her energy and determination were infectious. Soldiers fought harder, inspired by her courage and the presence of Ethan, the human who had saved her life and now guided them through peril. Amid the chaos, Ethan noticed a Draxian commander attempting to bypass the defenses, heading directly toward the palace. His mind raced. He could not allow the enemy to reach Serafina. Quickly, he devised a trap, combining human intuition with Aurelian's advanced technology. The plan was risky, but the alternative was worse. Using a series of signals, he lured the commander's unit into a narrow corridor lined with energy nets and automated disablers. The Draxians were caught off guard, and the command unit was neutralized without heavy casualties to the city. Ethan exhaled, feeling the tension loosen slightly. One major threat had been removed, but there was no time to rest. The remaining Draxians regrouped, showing adaptability Ethan had not fully anticipated. They adjusted their tactics, attacking in patterns that mirrored his strategies. It was a test of wits, a chess game played at high speed across the streets and rooftops of Lithera's capital. Ethan realized that victory would depend on the human ability to improvise in real time. He guided small teams, adjusting traps and diversions on the fly. He called on instincts, patterns he had learned from observing behavior, and minor innovations that the Aurelians could implement immediately. Slowly, they began to gain the upper hand. The tide turned when Serafina herself led a squad to reinforce a faltering sector. Her presence bolstered the morale of the defenders. Seeing their princess fearless and resolute, the soldiers fought with renewed determination. Draxians, though powerful, began to falter under the combined assault of human strategy, Aurelian precision, and sheer courage. Hours of battle passed, stretching into the night. By the time the twin moons rose high, the city had stabilized. Most Draxian forces had been repelled or neutralized. The remaining invaders retreated to regroup, their advance stalled. The streets were littered with debris, and minor damage marked the city, but lives had been saved. Ethan stood on a high balcony looking out over the city. Exhaustion weighed on him, yet there was a sense of satisfaction. They had faced an enemy that had seemed unstoppable and survived. Not by brute strength alone, but by ingenuity, adaptability, and courage, human qualities that the Aurelians had underestimated. Serafina joined him, her face calm but alert. "You have changed everything," she said softly. "Lithera will never see humans the same way again. You have proven that courage, creativity, and the willingness to act can be stronger than tradition or force alone. Humans are remarkable." The night passed with quiet vigilance. Ethan and Serafina monitored the city's defenses, ready for any further Draxian incursions. Communication lines remained active, squads were prepared, and every soldier understood that their survival depended on teamwork, ingenuity, and courage. By dawn, the city was calm once more. Scouts reported that the Draxians had withdrawn entirely, likely to regroup for a larger assault. Ethan knew this was temporary. The real war was only beginning. But for the first time, he felt that humans could stand as equals among the stars. Humanity's unpredictability, its courage, and its hidden strengths could tip the balance in ways no one expected. Serafina approached him, offering a small smile. "Rest if you can, Ethan. We will need every bit of strength for what comes next." And as he looked out at Lithera's glittering city, still scarred but unbroken, he knew that humanity had only begun to reveal its potential. The Draxians would return. The war was far from over. But humans had shown that they could matter, that they could inspire, and that even a single individual could make a difference. And Ethan, standing beside the princess whose life he had saved, felt a quiet certainty. No matter how vast the galaxy, no matter how powerful the enemy, humanity's courage, ingenuity, and resilience would always find a way. The city of Lithera woke under an uneasy dawn. Despite the previous night's victory, Ethan felt a deep tension pressing on him. The Draxians had been repelled, yes, but their retreat was not defeat. Scouts reported signs of reinforcements, larger warships, and advanced ground units moving through the forests surrounding the city. This attack had only been a test, a probing strike to measure defenses. The real battle was coming, and Ethan knew they had to be ready. He walked through the palace corridors, observing the Aurelians preparing for what might come. Soldiers trained rigorously, their movements precise yet infused with a new energy, one born from confidence in human-guided strategies. Engineers inspected traps and defensive systems, adjusting them with guidance from Ethan. Even the palace staff moved with purpose, aware that their home and their people's survival depended on every small action. Serafina joined him in the strategy chamber. Her eyes, bright and focused, reflected the twin suns rising over the city. "They will not give up," she said calmly. "We need to prepare for everything. They expect us to fight defensively. They don't anticipate how quickly we can move, how we can use the city itself to our advantage. But they will adapt. We need contingencies for contingencies." Every step was calculated, but he left room for improvisation, understanding that rigidity could be deadly. Serafina absorbed every instruction, learning how to combine her people's technology with the human way of thinking. Together, they became a seamless team: intuition and precision, creativity and experience. By midday, the first signs of the Draxians' return appeared on the horizon. Warships hovered above the forests, their engines casting dark shadows across the city. Ground units moved swiftly, attempting to penetrate the outer defenses. Ethan activated the city's automated systems, traps, and decoys, while small squads of Aurelians moved into positions he had designated. The battle began with a sudden, violent clash. Draxian units rushed the outer walls, expecting to find a city weakened by previous conflict. Instead, they encountered perfectly timed ambushes. Energy nets ensnared their vehicles, and decoy squads drew them into controlled areas where Aurelians waited to strike. Chaos erupted in the forest, but the city itself remained remarkably intact, thanks to Ethan's meticulous planning. Amid the chaos, Ethan moved quickly from sector to sector. He coordinated defenses, redirected reinforcements, and issued instructions based on real-time observations. He was not the strongest fighter, nor the most heavily armed, but his mind was a weapon. Every move he made, every suggestion he gave, shifted the battle in subtle but decisive ways. Serafina fought alongside him in her own way. She led small squads into strategic positions, using her knowledge of the terrain and the enemy's tendencies to guide attacks. Her confidence had grown exponentially since her recovery, and her courage inspired everyone around her. Soldiers who might have faltered before now moved with determination, fighting not just for survival, but for the princess and the city she protected. The Draxians pressed harder, unleashing heavy energy beams from their warships. Buildings shook, and the ground quaked under the force of their weapons. Yet the city's defenses held. Ethan's traps delayed the enemy, forcing them to split their forces and exposing weaknesses in their formations. His improvisation allowed Aurelians to exploit every opportunity, turning a seemingly hopeless situation into a battlefield advantage. Hours of fighting passed. The Draxians were relentless, but human ingenuity, combined with Aurelian precision, began to tip the scales. Ethan noticed patterns in the enemy's movements, small errors that could be exploited. He guided squads to intercept, redirecting the flow of battle in ways the Draxians could not anticipate. Then a critical moment arrived. A Draxian commander, larger and more heavily armored than the others, broke through a defensive line and advanced toward the palace. Panic rippled through the nearby units. Ethan's heart pounded. He could not allow the enemy to reach Serafina. Without hesitation, he devised a daring plan. He instructed a team to create a decoy path, drawing the commander into a narrow canyon between the city's outer walls and a crystal tower. Meanwhile, a second squad prepared to strike from above using grappling hooks and energy nets. Timing was crucial. If they miscalculated, the commander would reach the palace and the battle could be lost. The trap worked perfectly. The Draxian commander fell into the canyon, ensnared by energy nets and isolated from his forces. Aurelians struck from above, using precision attacks to neutralize him without damaging the surrounding structures. Ethan exhaled, feeling a surge of relief. One major threat had been removed, and the morale of the defenders soared. But the battle was far from over. The Draxians regrouped quickly, adapting to the human-guided strategies. They launched a coordinated assault from multiple directions, testing the city's defenses and the defenders' resolve. Ethan realized that victory depended on more than just planning. It required leadership, quick thinking, and the courage to act under pressure. He moved through the city, guiding squads and adjusting tactics in real time. Every decision carried weight, every action could save lives. He felt the strain, the exhaustion, but pushed forward. Humans were not invincible, but their resilience and determination could make the impossible possible. Serafina remained at his side, coordinating reinforcements and providing strategic insight. Together, they inspired the soldiers, demonstrating that leadership was not about fear or power, but about courage, wisdom, and the willingness to act. As night fell, the final phase of the Draxian assault began. Their warships concentrated fire on key sectors, attempting to break the defenders' lines. Ethan responded by orchestrating a counterattack, combining traps, flanking squads, and energy disablers to disrupt the enemy. The Aurelians moved with precision, striking at weak points and coordinating with Ethan's guidance. The battle reached its climax when a massive Draxian unit breached the outer defenses. Ethan led a small strike team to intercept, using speed and improvisation to outmaneuver the enemy. Serafina joined them, her presence bolstering the team's morale. Together, they fought with determination, blending human creativity with Aurelian strength. Finally, the Draxians began to retreat. Their forces, exhausted and disorganized, withdrew to regroup. The city, though damaged in places, had held. Lithera's capital was safe, for now. The soldiers, once doubtful of the human strategies, now looked to Ethan with admiration. He had not only guided them to victory, but had inspired them to see new possibilities, to adapt and overcome challenges in ways they had never imagined. Ethan stood on a balcony overlooking the city, his body weary but his mind sharp. Serafina joined him, her eyes reflecting the lights of the twin moons above. "You have done something remarkable," she said softly. "Not just saving me, but showing my people that hope and courage can come from unexpected places. Humans are extraordinary." "I just did what I could. The real credit goes to all of you, your strength, your courage, your willingness to fight and adapt." Scouts reported that the Draxians would not give up so easily. The palace reinforced defenses, prepared for future attacks, and maintained constant communication with the surrounding regions. Ethan realized that his role had evolved. He was no longer just an explorer or healer. He had become a strategist, a leader, and a symbol of humanity's potential. Humans had long been underestimated, seen as fragile or unpredictable. Yet here, on a distant planet under alien suns, one human had made a profound difference. As dawn broke, Ethan prepared for what lay ahead. The battle had tested their strength, their courage, and their ingenuity. But the war was far from over. The Draxians would return, and Lithera would need every advantage it could muster. Ethan knew that humanity's value in the galaxy was no longer in question. Humans were adaptable, courageous, and capable of acts that could change the fate of worlds. And as he looked at Serafina, standing tall and ready, he understood that together, human and Aurelian, they could face any challenge. The future of Lithera was uncertain, but for the first time it was filled with hope. And in that hope, Ethan found the strength to continue to fight, and to prove that even a single human could make a difference in the vastness of the universe. The morning sky of Lithera was painted in shades of gold and violet as the twin suns rose over the city. For the first time in several days, Ethan felt a small moment of calm, but the tranquility was only fleeting. Scouts had reported that the Draxians were regrouping, amassing a larger fleet, preparing for an assault that would test every ounce of courage, skill, and ingenuity that the city could muster. Ethan walked through the palace corridors, observing soldiers readying weapons, engineers checking energy fields, and healers attending to minor injuries from the previous battles. He could feel the tension in every corner, yet there was a new energy among the defenders. Confidence had grown, fueled by victories, human-led strategies, and the realization that they were capable of more than they had ever imagined. Serafina met him in the strategy chamber. Her eyes were focused, sharp, and determined. "This will be their largest attack yet," she said. "We cannot underestimate them. Every life in this city may depend on our actions today." But Ethan had crafted a strategy that leveraged the city's unique structures, traps, and the coordination between human intuition and Aurelian precision. He knew victory was possible, but only if every move was executed perfectly. As the first Draxian warships appeared on the horizon, the city's alarms rang out. The citizens and soldiers braced themselves. Ethan took his place on the observation deck with Serafina, scanning the skies and surrounding forests. The Draxian fleet was vast, larger than anything they had faced before, and their formation was designed for maximum efficiency and destruction. "They are organized," Ethan observed. But they rely on predictable patterns. That is our advantage. Then we will break their expectations. Human creativity had transformed the city into a labyrinth of controlled chaos, confusing the attackers and limiting their ability to cause damage. Ethan moved swiftly through the command center, coordinating squads and adjusting plans in real time. Every decision mattered. Small adjustments, a redirected squad here, a trap triggered there, made the difference between life and death. He relied on instinct, observation, and quick thinking, traits humans had honed for survival across countless environments. Serafina led her own team to reinforce vulnerable points, demonstrating courage and adaptability that had grown since Ethan first healed her. Her presence inspired the soldiers, reminding them of what they were defending and why. Together, human and Aurelian leadership created a synergy the Draxians had not anticipated. Hours passed in intense, relentless combat. The Draxians pressed forward, launching coordinated attacks on multiple fronts. Yet every assault was met with clever countermeasures. Ethan's strategies exploited their predictable tactics, turning the enemy's strengths into weaknesses. Squads moved in precise formations, guided by both human intuition and Aurelian discipline, striking the Draxians in vulnerable spots while minimizing casualties among the defenders. At one point, a Draxian warship broke through the outer defenses, hovering above the central palace tower. Panic rippled among nearby units, but Ethan acted without hesitation. He coordinated a rapid strike, using grappling squads, energy nets, and precision attacks to neutralize the ship. The defenders cheered, morale surging. Every success, no matter how small, reinforced their confidence and determination. As the battle raged, Ethan noticed a Draxian commander attempting to infiltrate the city from a less guarded route. Recognizing the danger, he devised a rapid response plan, directing squads to intercept and isolate the commander. Using a combination of traps, flanking attacks, and quick maneuvers, the team succeeded in capturing the enemy leader without significant loss. This victory sent a clear message to the Draxians. Their opponent was clever, resourceful, and united. Serafina watched the unfolding battle with admiration. "Your strategies are extraordinary," she said. "You have turned fear into hope, chaos into control. I never imagined humans could influence a battle on this scale." It was the courage to act when the odds were overwhelming, the resilience to continue despite exhaustion, and the willingness to protect life beyond oneself. Humanity's essence had shown itself not just in a touch that healed a princess, but in strategies that preserved a city. The battle reached its peak when the Draxians concentrated their remaining forces in a massive, final push. Energy beams lanced through the sky and the ground shook under the assault. The city's defenders held firm, yet the pressure was immense. Ethan's mind raced. He needed a decisive move, something that would break the enemy's will and secure victory. He directed a coordinated counteroffensive. Using the city's natural terrain, hidden traps, and human-guided improvisation, they created choke points, forcing Draxian units into confined areas where Aurelians could strike effectively. Decoy units lured enemy squads away from critical structures, and precision attacks neutralized key leaders. The Draxians found themselves outmaneuvered, trapped in a battle they could not control. Serafina led the final charge alongside Ethan. Her presence was commanding, inspiring every soldier around her. Together, they advanced into the heart of the battle, coordinating attacks, rallying troops, and striking decisively at the enemy. The human and Aurelian synergy proved unstoppable. The Draxians, realizing they were surrounded and outmatched, began a retreat. Their warships pulled back, their ground units faltered, and their morale collapsed. What had started as a massive, terrifying assault ended in a complete withdrawal. Lythra had survived, not through brute force alone, but through ingenuity, courage, and the unexpected strengths of humanity. As silence fell over the city, the defenders began to assess the aftermath. Buildings bore scars from the battle, streets were strewn with debris, but lives had been saved, and the city remained standing. Soldiers and citizens alike began to cheer, not just for victory, but for the realization that they had witnessed something extraordinary. A human had not only helped save a princess, he had led them to triumph against a powerful and relentless enemy. Ethan stood beside Serafina on a high balcony, overlooking the city bathed in the light of the rising twin suns. She turned to him, her eyes reflecting gratitude and awe. "You have done more than save me," she said softly. "You have changed how my people see humanity. You have shown that courage, creativity, and determination can achieve what was once thought impossible. It is more than enough. In the days that followed, the palace and city worked to rebuild. Ethan assisted in restoring systems, training squads, and helping Serafina establish stronger defenses. The Draxians had retreated, but their presence would not be forgotten. Lithera's people remained vigilant, but they did so with confidence, knowing they had the guidance and partnership of humanity to rely on. Ethan reflected on how far he had come. From an explorer summoned for an impossible task, he had become a strategist, a leader, and a symbol of humanity's potential. Humans were often underestimated, dismissed as fragile or chaotic, yet here, on a distant world, one human had changed the fate of a princess, a royal family, and a city. Serafina approached him one evening holding a small crystal that contained the history and knowledge of her planet. "This is for you," she said. "A symbol of trust, unity, and gratitude. Lithera will never forget what you have done. The real heroes are all of you, your courage, your strength, your willingness to fight for each other." He had seen the best of humanity, courage, intelligence, resilience, displayed not just in himself, but reflected in the unity it inspired among others. Humans were capable of greatness, and the universe had only begun to witness it. The shuttle lifted off, leaving the planet behind, but Ethan carried with him the knowledge that one life, one touch, one human decision could change the course of history. Lithera was safe, Serafina was alive, and the bond between human and Aurelian had been forged in fire and courage. As the stars stretched out before him, Ethan smiled quietly. Humanity had proven itself, not through dominance or power, but through creativity, courage, and the simple yet profound ability to care. And in a galaxy filled with uncertainty and danger, that might be the greatest strength of all. The future was wide open, filled with possibilities, and Ethan knew that humans would continue to leave their mark, one courageous act at a time.